And welcome into a special edition of Tennessee Tuesday. I'm your host, John Blankenship, and I will be with you for the next little while this evening as we're going to recap the SCV National Reunion. We'll go over some of the activities that occurred, some of those that spoke, and the different events and the awards. We'll mention all of those throughout this special edition of Tennessee Tuesday. As we start out, I do want to tell you this is a special pre-recorded edition of Tennessee Tuesday, and we will be back live next week with a special show as we'll start out with, of course, season number 3. So keep in mind, this is a pre-recorded edition of Tennessee Tuesday. But we are glad that you are with us tonight. We've got several things to go over, and hope you'll stick around with me for the next hour or so, and we'll recap what was a great reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. Enjoyed being there for a few days, and the sights and sounds, we'll tell you about some of those activities that occurred and make mention of the new officers in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. But let's start out this evening, of course, with our disclaimer that the views and opinions that you hear on this broadcast tonight are solely our own, not those representing the GEC, the SCV, any brigades, divisions, or camps or subsidiaries of our organization. These are solely my opinions that you hear tonight on Tennessee Tuesday. So again, welcome into this special edition of the show. Glad to be here with you tonight, and we'll keep that scrolling at the bottom of the screen so you will know this is a special pre-recorded edition of Tennessee Tuesday, but feel free to comment in the chat tonight. Well, let's just go ahead and jump right into what was a great reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. The Bluegrass Brigade there and did a fantastic job hosting the National Reunion. It was 3 days of business meetings, and of course there were tours and different activities, delicious meals. A shout out and applause to the guys of Kentucky that did a fantastic job for the 131st annual Sons of Confederate Veterans National Reunion. We have a new commander-in-chief, a new lieutenant commander-in-chief, and we'll also go over those that were elected for the Army offices, the Army commanders and the Army councilmen. We will mention those throughout this broadcast tonight. Of course, there was also several awards. We're not going to recap every award since we focus on those in Tennessee, so we will mention some of those that were recognized from Tennessee and the SCV here in the Tennessee division. We'll mention those this evening. We'll also talk about some more national awards that were during the banquet. We will mention those tonight and show you a few photographs of the week as well. Again, thank you for watching, and let's go ahead and jump right in this evening. Again, thanks to our sponsors tonight for making our coverage possible here on Tennessee Tuesday of the SCV National Reunion. We'll tell you more about our Patreon sponsors as well as our show sponsors this evening throughout the program. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to show you some photographs tonight. This kicked off the day. This was the first day there as we got the business session underway and the opening ceremonies. This is before the business session began. For the SCV members, you'll see greetings from different individuals, and we enjoyed hearing from the different heritage organizations. Of course, the event started out there as we had a welcome from Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy, who is now past Commander-in-Chief of the SCV, but the commander opened the day and told about the different activities that were going to be taking place and made welcome to many of those folks that were there. This is as the opening ceremonies were getting underway. You see a few of those in attendance. There's one shot of the room. A good crowd at this year's event. Of course, it was an election year, so that's always a larger crowd at the National Reunion. Again, some of those that brought greetings, our friends from the United Daughters of the Confederacy there, the historian general. She brought greetings on behalf of the UDC, and just a very inspiring message from her kicked off the week of activities at the National Reunion, so it was good to hear from her. And again, she's from Kentucky as well, so we appreciate her bringing greetings on behalf of the National United Daughters of the Confederacy. Also, the Military Order of Stars and Bars, there was greetings brought there from Mr. Mike Moore, who represented the MOS&B. Again, we appreciate them being in attendance for the special opening ceremonies. Also, on behalf of the Order of Confederate Rose, Dottie Meadows, she brought greetings there. Good to see Dottie, and we appreciate her bringing greetings there as well. So those are some of those that spoke at the very beginning of the event to bring greetings on behalf of the different heritage organizations. It's always great to be able to work with our many different organizations that promote our Confederate history. Also bringing greetings on behalf of the Kentucky division of the SCV, Division Commander Kyle Thompson there brought greetings, and we appreciate him. Always appreciate the leadership of Kyle Thompson, the great job they have done in Kentucky to bring this national reunion there. And we look forward in Tennessee and partnering with Kyle coming up on August the 1st for a special event at Fort Donelson. And we'll be telling you more about that. Hopefully next week we'll be able to have Kyle on with us to talk a little bit more about that joint venture there. As we remember our ancestors at Fort Donelson coming up on August the 1st, a special event that will be taking place. But, of course, Kyle brought greetings to those in attendance. Others that brought greetings that day, of course, Chaplain-in-Chief, past Chaplain-in-Chief now, Tom Hyder from Kentucky as well. He brought greetings to the crowd and opened the day and the activities and the sessions with prayer each day, and prayed over the meals that were served, and a great memorial service there that he led as well later in the week. So Tom Hyder, past now Chaplain-in-Chief of the SCV, bringing greetings there at the National Reunion. Of course, we heard a report there from headquarters. Executive Director Adam Southern brought information to the body after the meeting got underway, the business session. He gave updates on membership numbers as well as financial reports, and talked a little bit more about the National Confederate Museum in Columbia and the great work that's being done there, and applauded all those that have made donations. And, of course, the McCain Library as well has received a large number of books more recently, and they're now indexing those and cataloging those in the database. So we appreciate Adam Southern and his leadership and his staff at the headquarters of the SCV. Also, another time throughout the week that was a very momentous there. Past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramling brought greetings to the crowd. This would be his final time to address the body there, as still serving as a member of the General Executive Council. His time has come to an end to serve on the council, as he will roll off the council. He talked about some of the highlights that he was proud of during his time as Commander-in-Chief, and of course, some of those being the National Confederate Museum. He talked about that and getting that underway, and some of the other projects that he was proud of during his leadership that he was able to accomplish. Of course, he mentioned his late wife, Miss Linda Gramling. And again, our thoughts and prayers always continue with past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramling. An emotional time there at the end, but very inspiring from Paul. And we appreciate his leadership over many years in our organization, as he will roll off the General Executive Council. Also, as again, we appreciate Paul being there as well. Always enjoy seeing him and others and past Commander-in-Chiefs that were there as well. So let's kind of go through some of the things that occurred. Of course, some new officers were elected. We knew this was an election year for the organization, and let's announce those officers. If you have not heard, again, new officers being elected, and the first one of those that we want to mention is a new Commander-in-Chief. The 79th Commander-in-Chief has been elected to serve for 2 years. And the new CIC is Tony Griffin, who has recently served as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief. He was elected as Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans for the 79th Commander for the next 2 years. And we look forward to his leadership and the things that he will bring to the table and continue to move our organization forward and continue to honor our ancestors. Also, here's a photograph of him being sworn in on Saturday evening, officially as the Commander-in-Chief. There's now past Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy, congratulating him on being elected as Commander-in-Chief of the organization. And we look forward to working with Tony Griffin as he leads for the next 2 years. And in the near future, we look forward to getting him back on Tennessee Tuesday to talk about some of the things he plans to do over the next 2 years that he would like to see accomplished. So congratulations to Tony Griffin, who has been elected the new Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Also, we held an election on Saturday as well for Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, and Mr. Charles LeRae was elected as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the SCV, and he will serve for the next 2 years in that position. We spoke to Charles in the past, and he's talked about many of the goals that he has, and recruitment and retention being one of his main things that he will work on. He's mentioned moving the organization even further into the 21st century using modern technology such as social media. That's just a part of his platform, and we'll have Charles on again in the near future to talk about some of the things that he'll be working on in his time as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief. So congratulations to Charles LeRae being elected Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the SCV. And then here's a picture from Saturday night of him and his lovely wife there as now past Commander-in-Chief, Donnie Kennedy, swearing them in to that new role. And congratulations once again to Charles LeRae being elected your Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief. So there's your top two offices. Again, recapping there, Tony Griffin has been elected as Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Your new Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief is Charles LeRae. So now let's go ahead and go through some of the other things that occurred. There were some other elections, of course, that took place on Saturday. Of course, the armies, the three armies of the organization met. The Army of Northern Virginia, the Army of Tennessee, and the Army of the Trans-Mississippi met on Saturday morning, and or rather I should say on Friday morning, and held their meetings and elected their two officers, which is a commander and a councilman. So we do want to mention those tonight and go over those that were elected in those positions. Again, on this program, we are mainly focusing on the Army of Tennessee, which is where the Tennessee Division, where I serve as Division Commander, served. So we'll show you a couple of photographs here from the Army of Tennessee meeting here. This is now past Army commander. Of course, he's showing there the award that was received there with the most increase in the Army net gain in camps there. Carl Jones serving as the Army of Tennessee commander, now leaving that office there, and he showed that award that was received and held that meeting as well. Also, during the Army meeting of Tennessee on Friday, we had there Roy Hudson, who has recently served as councilman for the Army of Tennessee, and he brought greetings there and led a portion of that meeting as well. And also during that meeting, on behalf of the Tennessee Division, I brought a brief report there on activities and told the Army about the things that have been going on in Tennessee. Some of the projects we're working on in Tennessee, which include the Forest Hall at the Nathan Bedford Forest Boyhood Home site, pavilion there and structure that's being erected by the Tennessee Division, and funds raised there. Also, we talked about a couple of legal battles that are happening as we continue to defend our monuments, our ancestors in Tennessee. Now, during that Army of Tennessee meeting, we'll first jump into these. We'll mention all the officers that were elected from the different armies, but we will first mention Tennessee, the Army of Tennessee, which is where I am a member of, and the Tennessee Division is. So let's start out with that. We had a new Army commander elected for the Army of Tennessee. James Patterson was elected on during the Army meeting. So congratulations to James Patterson. He will lead the Army of Tennessee for the next 2 years. Also, during our Army of Tennessee meeting, elected for the councilman for the Army is Forrest Dahl. So congratulations to Forrest, who currently serves as the Mississippi Division commander, and he's now taking the role of Army of Tennessee commander. So congratulations to Forrest Dawes and to James Patterson being elected there. And also, once again, a shout out to Carl Jones and Roy Hudson and their time serving the Army of Tennessee. Also, we'll go ahead and share these a couple of photographs here. Of course, others were sworn in on Saturday evening that were elected. And let's go through the complete list of the 3 armies and who was elected from each army. And let's start with the Army of Northern Virginia commander elected. Jamie Graham will continue to serve in that position. For councilman, Randy Burbidge will remain as the Army of Northern Virginia. That will be the staff there. Also, for the Army of Tennessee, as we just mentioned, the new commander is James Patterson. The councilman is Forrest Dawes. For the Army of Trans-Mississippi, commander is John McCammon, and the councilman is Bobby Herring. So you can see them, their photograph being sworn in on Saturday evening during the banquet by Commander Donnie Kennedy there, swearing the new officers in that will serve the armies for the next 2 years. Also, we have a couple of photographs to share from the stage. There is Jamie Graham, who is the commander of the Army of Northern Virginia, and then also John McCammon, who is the commander for the Army of Trans-Mississippi. So there are their photographs, and again, the swearing-in ceremony on Saturday evening. So congratulations to those men. We look forward to seeing their leadership over the next 2 years. So there are your elections. There's been a couple of appointments announced for the General Executive Council by Commander-in-Chief Tony Griffin, and we'll mention those 2 individuals that have already been appointed a little bit later on in our show this evening. Let's also other information. Let's see, to share some pretty neat things that were presented on the very first day of the business session. Compatriot Kirk Lyons presented 2 really neat things here. The first one was a reenactor's uniform, a Confederate uniform here that was originally Kirk's, but it was later worn by H.K. Edgerton as he began his march across Dixie. That was his first uniform there that he had. That's been now presented to the National Confederate Museum to be displayed in Columbia. So a very nice thing there, as recently H.K. passed away. Remember his service to the SCV and to our ancestors, and also a flag here that he carried for a portion those first days of that march across Dixie there, that also presented to be displayed at the National Confederate Museum. So appreciate Compatriot Lions and presenting those to the organization and the museum, which will make a very nice display to honor the late HK. Let's see other things. There were some awards given. Of course, there was an award ceremony. We're not going to recap the complete list of all those that won awards, but since this is Tennessee Tuesday, focusing on the Tennessee division, we do want to mention those from Tennessee that did win awards. Again, there you can see the Army of Tennessee Superior Camp, which will go to General Hatton Camp in Lebanon. Tom Wood, commander there, and there he is with Donnie Kennedy receiving that ribbon from the awards ceremony there on Friday during that luncheon. Also, Tom's camp there, the General Hatton camp, picked up the large newsletter there award. So congratulations to them, and a fantastic scrapbook, I should say scrapbook, not newsletter, but scrapbook. And then also for the less than 50 members there, Gainsborough Invincibles, David Daniels puts together a very nice scrapbook, and the winner there, and there he is pictured with our first lieutenant commander of the Tennessee Division, Rich Garcia. So congratulations to the Hatton Camp and the Gainsborough Invincibles winning there for those scrapbook awards at the awards ceremony. Also, a little fun on Friday night, of course, is the oratory contest. That's always very popular during the reunion. And this year, congratulations to Charles LeRae, who came out victorious there. And there is the flag. He won with all the individuals that were participating and attending and spectating and viewing signed there. So congratulations to Charles LeRae, who was the winner of the oratory contest, which is always a lot of fun. And remember, the oratory contest is not always serious either. So a lot of fun there, and appreciate to all those that lead that. Chuck McMichael, James Turner, Lee Miller, and others that make that a lot of fun on Friday evening. So, of course, a grand banquet was held, and, of course, the swearing-in ceremony took place on Saturday evening, the final thing to occur, an event and ceremony to take place during the national reunions. And here is a few photographs from the ball there and the debutante ceremony. You can see some of those that participated there, and just a couple of photographs will show. There's half of the room that was in attendance for the evening, and then a few more here, some of those on the dance floor from Saturday evening and the grand ball. Strings of Secession, some of our guys from Tennessee there performed music for the evening for the grand ball, and they look nice in their attire, and a great job is always bringing great period music to the program and the ball on Saturday evening in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, now let's go ahead and mention some other awards that were given. The two highest awards that can be given in the SCV took place on Saturday evening during the banquet and swearing-in ceremony, and let's mention these here. And you'll see those that picked up awards. Mr. Shelby Little from Texas received the Robert E. Lee Award. And there he is with Donnie Kennedy being presented his award. Also, David King received an award there, which was also the Robert E. Lee Award. There were 3 of those given this year. And then Jamie Graham also received that Robert E. Lee Medal and Award on Saturday evening as well. So congratulations to those 3 men and their leadership and accomplishment and our organization to defend our heritage and honor our ancestors. Of course, the grand award of the evening is the Jefferson Davis Chalice, which was given to Ron Kennedy for his service in our organization. So congratulations to Mr. Ron Kennedy receiving the Jefferson Davis Chalice on Saturday evening during the grand banquet. Of course, Donnie Kennedy has wrapped up his 2 years serving as Commander-in-Chief as the 78th Commander-in-Chief, and he was presented with a couple of things, one of those being a frame gavel. Also, this that he'll be able to add to his Commander-in-Chief flag is now past Commander-in-Chief, and the new Commander-in-Chief there, Tony Griffin on the left and Donnie on the right. And we appreciate Commander-in-Chief, past Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy, and his leadership to the organization over the past 2 years in that role. So we appreciate his continued leadership, and we recognize him for his service and a job well done. Well, a couple of appointments have been announced to the General Executive Council that we have seen shared on social media always, and we wanted to share some of these photographs. And thank you to those that want to give credit to where these photographs came from the individual social media pages. And also Kevin Withrow from Tennessee took some of these photographs, and some of these were from me as well, and want to give credit to those photographs this evening. Past Texas Division Commander Michael Hurley, who also organized last year's National Reunion as the chairman, he was selected as the new chaplain-in-chief for the SCV, and there he is pictured with new Commander-in-Chief Tony Griffin on the right and Michael Hurley on the left. And great inspiration Commander Hurley is, and we look forward to his leadership and spiritual guidance for our organization for the next 2 years as chaplain-in-chief. Also selected on this weekend and announced, our very own of SCV Chad here. We appreciate George Connor Bond. Connor being selected as the National Chief of Heritage Operations. And congratulations to Connor being appointed to that seat on the General Executive Council, and he will do a fantastic job leading our organization in that role as well. So there are some of the appointments that have been announced already. There will be others to come, and as those become available, we will share those with you on our programs in the future, and we hope to have some of these individuals that we mentioned tonight on Tennessee Tuesday. Got to spend some time talking with others that were set up as vendors and have great things going on across the South and telling the history of our ancestors. We've got some great guests we're working on for season number 3 that will begin next week. We'll tell you more about that and some other things that happened during the SCV National Reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. We'll do that after we come back right after this, so stay with us.
Was your great-grandfather a traitor or a patriot? Today's politically correct are trying hard to take away the heritage of the brave Confederate soldiers who fought and died for their land. But one thing is certain, they can't change history. Those Confederate soldiers were fighting for the same reason soldiers fight today. They were fighting against homeland invasion. We believe that the desecration of the bravery, patriotism, and honor of those men should not be allowed. They were outmanned and outsupplied, but they were never outfought. They were proud men who believed in fighting to protect their dignity, their homes, and their families. If you're the male descendant of a Confederate soldier, we'd welcome you to join with us in the preservation of that heritage. We're the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Check us out on the internet at scv.org or call us at 800-MY-SOUTH. That's 800-697-6884. Sons of Confederate Veterans, dedicated to preserving the reputation of men like Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and your great-grandfather.
Samuel R. Watkins, 1839 to 1901. Sam Watkins of Murray County, Tennessee, is remembered as one of the most well-known Confederate soldiers through his service and his words. Enlisting as a private in Company H, 1st Tennessee Infantry, Watkins served throughout the war between the states, fighting in many of its hardest battles, including Shiloh, Chickamauga, and Franklin. Like so many soldiers, he endured the hardships of war, witnessing both the courage and the cost of conflict firsthand. After the war, Watkins returned home and later wrote his memoir, Company H, one of the most widely read personal accounts of a Confederate soldier. His writings provide a vivid and human perspective on the everyday experiences of those who served. Today, Sam Watkins is remembered not only for his military service, but for preserving the story of the common Confederate soldier for future generations. To learn more historical facts about Confederate veterans, visit TennesseeSCV.org. And welcome back into Tennessee Tuesday on this Tuesday evening. It's July the 21st. We're glad you're watching. I'm your host, John Blankenship. Solo tonight, Jason Boshears will be back with me next week as we'll be continuing our season number 3 that will get underway. Again, this is a special edition of Tennessee Tuesday. I want to remind you this is a pre-recorded episode as we recap the SCV National Reunion this evening. So thank you for watching with us and commenting in the chat. But remember, this is a pre-recorded episode this evening, and we will be back live with you next week as we kick off Tennessee Tuesday and season number 3. Well, a few things we want to continue and talk about tonight as we get ready to wrap up a little shortened edition of the program, but we want to recap all of the things that occurred at the SCV National Reunion, those that were elected, and some of the special events, and a couple of other things tonight that we do want to mention. The Children of the Confederacy met this past weekend and week as well. And we want to mention somebody from Tennessee that we're super excited to recognize tonight. And again, his service in the Tennessee division, as he is a member, but he has also been elected to a special role. That is none other than Mr. Ezekiel Pritchett, or Zeke Pritchett, from the 2nd Lieutenant William Moore Bain Camp 2333 in Tennessee. Congratulations to him being elected the President General of the Children of the Confederacy. So congratulations to compatriot Pritchett and his election there, as he will lead the Children of the Confederacy. We are proud of him and proud of his service to his ancestors, and he is the future of our organizations. And the Children of the Confederacy met, and he has been elected as the new President General of the Children of the Confederacy. So congratulations to compatriot Pritchett from Tennessee. Also enjoyed getting to meet many of you that watch Tennessee Tuesday on a regular basis. Got to finally put some faces to names. Again, thank you so much for coming up and saying hello. Enjoyed the conversation. And me and Jason did have a booth this year at, of course, the National Reunion for Tennessee Tuesday, so you could learn more about us there. And yeah, there we are together with our sign there at our booth at the National Reunion. We got together early on after we set the booth up. And thanks for folks that we got to talk with there. And again, gave you the opportunity to learn more and pick up a card and learn how you can submit. And we've got several folks that are planning to be guests with us in the near future. So thank you for stopping by and talking with us, and your encouraging words. It was great to meet so many folks. And we've talked many times, but the first time I got to meet in person was Mr. Sean McFall, the Florida man. Of course, you hear him on Wednesday evenings and Look Around Florida on SCV Chat. And we got to get our photograph together there by the cannon on this weekend. So thank you to Sean McFall and the program he hosts on SCV Chat and Look Around Florida. And it was good to get to officially meet him. We've talked, but never got to meet face to face until this week. And I appreciate him. And it was good to say hello, and to all the other folks that stopped by and said they watched Tennessee Tuesday. We do appreciate that. We appreciate you sharing this program out, because it will grow if folks know about it. And the way you can do that and help us out is share our Facebook videos, our YouTube videos. Remember, you can go online to TennesseeTuesday.com and you can see past episodes of the show. They're all available there to you at TennesseeTuesday.com. And also, if you would like to maybe submit activities that you have, especially if you are in Tennessee, the way you can do that there is send us an email with photographs, Tennessee Tuesday Podcast at gmail.com. You can send your photographs and descriptions or other events and activities. Also, if you have some outside of Tennessee, we'd like to try to share those as we can as well. And if you're interested in being a guest with me and Jason, you can reach out to us that email address as well, or send us a Facebook message, and we'd be happy to talk with you about possibly getting you on the show. So Tennessee Tuesday, now getting ready to go into season number 3 next week. So again, thank you to all those that came by and said hello to us at the National Reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, as we get ready to wrap up this special edition of the program, by the way, that's a pre-recorded edition as we recap the National Reunion, there is a group of the Tennessee guys that were there on this week. We took that on Saturday morning, and I believe we had everyone there. Commander Kennedy joined us in the center. So again, thanks to all the Tennessee crew that supports our national reunions and made the trip. And there may have been some others that didn't make the picture, but there's the main core group that attended the National Reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. And a great job there by the Bluegrass Brigades and the work they did for this year's National Reunion. I believe it was a great success. Well, as we get ready to wrap up this special edition of the show tonight, let's go ahead and recap one more time those that are your new officers from this year's reunion. It was an election year, of course. These individuals will serve for 2 years. So again, elected Commander-in-Chief is Tony Griffin. The new Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief is Charles Ray. From your different armies, let's start with the Army of Northern Virginia. Commander is Jamie Graham. The councilman is Randy Burbidge. From the Army of Tennessee, the new commander is James Patterson. The councilman is Forrest Dawes. From the Army of Trans-Mississippi, the commander is John McCammon, and the councilman is Bobby Herring. So congratulations to all those that were elected at this year's reunion and chosen to lead the organization for the next 2 years. We in Tennessee look forward to working with each one of those fine gentlemen, and congratulations to them for being elected, and always willing for anyone that steps out to seek office to run and serve in our organization. Thank you for your efforts as well. Those that are now leaving office or in the past role, thank you for your service as well. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this special edition of Tennessee Tuesday. Again, this has been a special show as we have wrapped up season 2. Season 3 will be back next week. We will be talking about a special event that will take place in Tennessee at Fort Donelson. We'll be partnering with the Kentucky Division, and we hope to have Kyle Thompson, the Kentucky Division commander, on with us next week, as that event is coming up on August the 1st. So again, thank you for watching the show tonight. As always, come with us, be with us each week. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your shares of this program, and we do hope you enjoy Tennessee Tuesday. Well, I believe that's everything I have to share with you tonight. Again, thank you for everything you do in our organization as the SCV is celebrating 130 years of faith, heritage, and honor. Proud to be able to do my part, and you as well, and serve alongside each one of you. If you're interested in learning more about our organization, there's a couple of ways you can do so. If you're interested in Tennessee, TennesseeSCV.org or SCV.org is how you learn more about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Again, as we wrap up tonight, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. We could not do this without the fine individuals that partner with us here each week and make this show possible. So let's go through and thank those. If you'd like to be a Patreon member, it's easy for you to do. Go to scvchat.com. There you'll find the information about how you can have your name here at the bottom and support the efforts of not only Tennessee Tuesday, but all of the SCV chat programs that you hear throughout the week. So keep that in mind, and we appreciate their support. We also want to thank our show sponsors tonight. Dr. Chris Cummings, Modern Medicine, Southern Hospitality in Oxford, Mississippi. Dr. Cummings, one of our show sponsors. You can reach out to him at cmc-md.org. Dr. Chris Cummings, one of our program sponsors this evening. Also, 31st Reg Engraving, a fantastic job they do. We do appreciate Todd there from California, and got to see him this weekend. And the 31st Reg Engraving, you see some of the products there that they can make. You can reach out to them to learn more, 31stregengraving.com. Also, past Commander-in-Chief Larry McClooney, one of our show sponsors. Of course, his book, Paradox of Freedom. Got to talk with Larry this weekend, and that book, I believe, if it didn't sell out, it almost completely sold out all the copies he had. So he'll be getting more of those soon. So if you didn't get yours, you can visit booksbylarry.com to get on the list there to get a copy of Paradox of Freedom. Just a great book about the history of black slaveholders in America. Also, Beauregard's Taylor. It's a family-driven business there, proudly offering authentic War Between the States reproductions. They have T-shirts, flags. They do a great job on those flags, lapel pins, and other items. You can visit them to learn more about the different products they have at Beauregard'sTaylor.shop. The museum at Market Hall, again, thanks to them for being a sponsor here of the program. Since 1899, when I visited Charleston, South Carolina 2 years ago, we got to see that wonderful museum, the many different items they have on display. Again, you can visit them on their social media, on their website to learn more. And if you're in Charleston, South Carolina, or plan a trip that way, open Thursday through Sunday, 11 till 4. The flag is out there open. If they have special hours, they will also post those as well. So thank you to the museum at Market Hall being one of our sponsors here on Tennessee Tuesday and SCV Chat. And finally, our show sponsor this evening, the Sam Davis Home and Museum in Smyrna, Tennessee. If you've never been to the Sam Davis Home, I encourage you to make a trip to Tennessee and visit the home and museum and the final resting place of the boy hero of the Confederacy, Mr. Sam Davis, who is buried on the property. You can learn more about his story. You can tour the museum and, of course, the house museum as well. They've been going through more restorations recently on some of the windows as they've received a grant. You can help out, too, by joining as a member by visiting their website as well, samdavishome.org. And the Memorial Association would be happy to have you as a member where you can help support and tell the story of Sam Davis of Tennessee. Again, that's in Smyrna, Tennessee, and we appreciate them being a sponsor here of Tennessee Tuesday and SCV Chat. Again, the Sam Davis Home and Museum is also one of our sponsors here at Tennessee Tuesday. Well, that's just about time to wrap up this edition of the show. As always, thank you for watching. This is a special pre-recorded edition this evening as we have recapped the reunion in Lexington, Kentucky. A great job to those guys. We look forward to being back with you live next week. Jason Boshier should be back with me as co-host next week, and we hope to have some special guests on with you to talk about coming up in Fort Donaldson. We look to have Kyle Thompson on the program if possible, and we've got some great episodes coming up in season 3. Again, thank you for watching. Again, we'll have special shows throughout the week. Thank you again. TennesseeTuesday.com is where you can go to watch previous episodes. I do hope you have yourself a wonderful rest of this week, my friends. Take care, and God bless.